Welcome back into TNJ Sports Podcast. This is season 2, episode 1, officially the return. Glad to be back. This is Tyrone T. Stalls, if you don't know, and Jordan.
Drizzy is back in the house. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. It's football time.
It is football time. It is officially, week 1, game 1 for U of L. We're recording on September 1st. Friday of 2023. We played Georgia Tech today at 7 p.m. tonight. I don't know about you, man, but I'm overwhelmed with excitement. And I think this is going to be a huge year for U of L. Just a huge year for college football in general, because it's going to be a big mix-up this year with teams switching conferences, especially Oklahoma and Texas. And then just some news broke today that the ACC will now have 3 new members starting in 2024 with Stanford, Cal, and SMU. So there's a lot to take in today and a lot to go into this year. But ultimately, I'm just excited to see a ball snap and see U of L out there on that field.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a long time coming. It's at the point of year where, at least for myself, my baseball love starts fading away, and I'm start getting into football mode. It gets a little, it's the heat kind of calms down outside. You get a little bit of false fall weather coming in. You're ready to just sit around and drink some beers and all that and watch some football. So I'm excited with you. I think for U of L, it's going to be a big year. You've got your coach that you wanted. He's got some excitement coming back in with them. It's his homecoming, alma mater, all that. So it'll be good to see, what he can do. It's exciting, but I think, like everything, we might need to temper expectations down. We thought the same, just basketball reference, thought the same thing with Kenny Payne. Look how that turned out. So I'm excited for you. It's been a long time coming. We haven't had a good time doing these football podcasts because U of L's been a little down in football here over the past 2 years. So more so, I'm excited for you than anything. Got to bring a competitive nature back between Kentucky and Louisville. That end of the year games are going to be good again. For Kentucky's standpoint, I mean, everything coming out of camp, they're on fire. The defense is lightning fast. I mean, offense is looking great with NC State transfer Devin Leary. So, I mean, looking forward, I think we've got a heck of a good weekend. And I know you all play tonight. I think I've asked you this before, but I forgot. Is that a conference game tonight, or is that a non-conference game?
This will be our ACC kickoff game. So this is going to be a conference game, Georgia Tech. Okay. It is neutral site, but I mean, it's in Georgia, playing a Georgia team. So really, Georgia's going to be the home team there, but I think Louisville's going to bring more fans. So, I mean, it should be a great turnout. A lot of fans are already saying that they're going to make that trip. A lot of them made that trip today or are currently making the trip right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I know I feel like there was a game a few years ago where I don't remember if it was UK or U of L, but it was like 2 conference teams playing each other in the first game, but it was a non-conference game. And I was like, that just seems so weird, so I had to verify. But I mean, let's break it down. It's game day for you all. Let's break it down. What do you expect to see tonight? We're not going to see any tweets from airlines talking about how any more touchdowns.
Yeah, Delta is not going to get any of my business ever for that. So, like you said, man, I don't think we'll have a lot of touchdowns for Georgia Tech, but I think there will be a lot of, great plays, great schemes out there. Something that we haven't, seen at U of L for the last 4 years. Not to, diminish or talk bad about Scott, because, we had some good times. But like you said, man, when we've been doing this podcast, it's been a lot of, I don't know what Scott was thinking there. I don't know what we were doing. What was Malik think? It's done with that. As we said before, early on in this year, 2023 is the year of positivity. And that's going to go into season 2 of this podcast. We're still going to be positive all year, all season. So positive thinking. the Jeff Brom era is going to get kicked off with a boom. I think this is the right team to play. This is the right atmosphere. Perfect stadium, honestly. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is the perfect place to kick off your first tenure back home. And I think it's going to be a lot of fireworks for U of L tonight. And I think we'll get it done. They do have a new coach, Brent Key, but I mean, he was there last year. He knows, the schemes. He knows these players are, he's very familiar with them. He has pride. He kind of has the same similar background as Jeff Brom with Louisville. He did play at Georgia Tech. He was a graduate assistant with Georgia Tech early on in the 2000s. And then, he ventured off and did his own thing, figure out how he wants to be a coach and getting his different kind of style, and ultimately got back with Georgia Tech last year or a couple years ago, and then took over after their coach was fired. And, this is going to be his first time taking on that head coaching role at Georgia Tech. And I mean, I think this is a perfect scenario for us. They have a transfer quarterback in Haynes King. He's from Texas A&M, and I mean, he didn't get much clock last year with Texas A&M. He actually got benched after the first game, which is really weird because he had a great first game, but it was against Sam Houston. He didn't play that much the rest of that year, except for Bama and I believe South Carolina, which those were losses. And he just ultimately got beat out by the guy that is there now. And I think that's what you'll see a lot this year, with a lot of kids transferring out because they got beat out and they don't want to stick through with the process. And that's very unfortunate to see for, a lot of teams, but fortunate for us, this is going to be a new quarterback and a new system. And I think that will be great for us. Speaking of that new system, new quarterback, we don't have that problem. Jack Plummer played with Jeff Brom for 3 years in Purdue. Yes, he did spend a year in Cal last year, but I mean, he had a decent year. I wouldn't say the stats will go whoa off the charts, but I mean, he got the job done while he's at Cal, and I think he is going to be the guy for us all year. And Jeff Brom has, gives his full, support, and he's even said that I guess is one of the best, teams that he's had in, his years of coaching, which says a lot. We do have a lot of great talent at receiver, and Jamari Thrash, who was a SWAC player of the year, or at least honorable mention, 1,000-yard receiver. I think he's going to show that he can do that in big power football. Coleman coming from Jackson State, where he was with Primetime, and now he's on Jeff Brom time. And I think, it's going to be great. And it's not just all offense. Jeff Brom is a defensive guy as well. He brought in some defensive studs, even some homegrown kids, and Stephen Herron, who played at Trinity, went to Stanford, and then transferred back home. I wonder if he knew that Stanford would be in our conference now and that he would have been able to have a chance to play us at home. Well, actually, no, he would have graduated next year because they don't play till next year. But, I think that's great. We got, Stephen Herron on this defense to lead us, because he knows a little bit about the pride that you have to play U of L and to put on that jersey. So I'm excited, man. Like I said, this is the perfect opportunity, perfect opponent to go out there and showcase what hard work we have put in, what Louisville put in, and all those transfers are ready to show, like, hey, we're taking pride in this name and this, and making sure Jeff Brom shows what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely exciting. I'm excited to see what his offense looks like, and what that defense looks like coming off, where you've seen some things come out from running backs this week that, like, last year people were just stacking the box, and they were calling out our play before we even broke the huddle, and whatnot. So it's like there wasn't a lot of creativity last year. There wasn't anything like that. So I know that will be the case now. I'd watched Purdue games before. So I kind of know what to expect, but just want to see what it's like bringing the excitement back to the city, because honestly, the city of Louisville's been down for a while between COVID and, racial issues, and then football and basketball. Like, you take sports as your, like, anchor to break away from reality for 3 or 4 hours a week, and then it that hasn't been the case lately, because there just hasn't been anything to root for.
Exactly. Sports does a lot of things about in the community, other than just cheering on a team. It brings the community together. So like you said, man, I mean, whether you're we have other sports teams, as you're familiar with, Louisville Bats. our baseball team here, and then Lou City soccer team, and then Racing City and our women's soccer team. So, that brings us together, but there's nothing like your college sports with the, passion and just the history of Louisville basketball, which, has been great, like you mentioned. And then UK basketball has historically been great. And then you go to, the football side of it, where Louisville was, we were getting a stride going in the early 2000s, hit a wall in the late 2000, the teens. And then, Charlie Strong takes over, and we get Teddy Bridgewater taking us to the Orange, or not Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl. And it was great. Bobby 2.0 came, and we got a Heisman out of it. But as you know, that did not end well. And, from 2018 to probably, now, until Jeff Brom, takes over tonight, I think it's just been, like you said, just underwhelming and just not as exciting. And I'm glad to have that excitement back. And I know you're excited. I know Kentucky doesn't play today. They play tomorrow against Ball State. So, you already hit on it. You got transfer in Devin Leary, which we're familiar with him being at NC State last year and the years prior. So what is this excitement that UK has with this new offensive weapon in Devin Leary? Are you guys excited? Are you kind of a little hesitant because of his injuries that he's had in previous years? Or, what is the overall feel for, the UK side of this?
So the overall feel, I guess, just coming out of camp itself is very positive of what he's been doing. He's come out. He has said that he is the healthiest that he's been in a long time. Mm-hmm. So obviously, I'm still a little hesitant on the injury front because, I mean, as you can see, we don't have the most viable backups.
Yeah.
A point in case last year where we lost to South Carolina, which shouldn't have happened even with the backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. But so partnering up Devin Leary with Liam Cohen coming back, I think is what's bringing more excitement, because you saw what he did with Will Levis. You saw what Liam Cohen did with Will Levis a couple of years ago, mm-hmm. where his really only outside target would probably be Wan'Dale Robinson, and then you know Isaiah Cummings from Louisville, tight end. He actually performed really well under that offense a couple years ago, and then it just dropped. So bringing him back with Devin Leary, because Devin Leary can do a lot of the same things and probably more accurate, probably a better overall quarterback, I think, than Will Levis. Will Levis had a nice strong arm. Mm-hmm. He could move with his legs, but overall, I think Leary could be better in the long run. Mm-hmm. Maybe not as NFL, but just in general, a better cute college quarterback prospect right now than Will Levis was last year when he was being hyped up as a number one pick. So then you got more offensive weapons for Liam Cohen to go into. You can't zero in on Wan'Dale Robinson anymore. You've got Dane Key and Barry and Brown on the outsides. You've got Cummings back in the tight end spot. Tavion Robinson is out there. You've got a lot of speed on the outside. You've got a lot of speed in the running back room. You just got I believe Ray Davis from Vanderbilt transfer in, had over 1,000 yards last year for Vanderbilt, mm-hmm. which obviously not a very good offensive line to run behind. Even though I think a quarter of his yearly rushing yards came against us, but that's neither here nor there.
We don't have to talk
about
it.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that one. So I mean, you're sitting there, you've got new running backs, you got speed and power, mm-hmm. you've got speed on the outside, you've got a quarterback who's been there, done that, and he's played against Clemson, he's played against Florida State, he's played against some big time opponents and some big time talent. So he's not, coming from somewhere where, Will Levis played at Penn State, but he didn't really play. Mm-hmm. He didn't have any. He didn't polish himself before he came.
Yeah,
Leary is coming in as polished. You know what you're going to get when he's healthy. He says he's healthy. Mm-hmm. He's got insane weapons to use, and then overall, I think that defense is, from what I've heard and read, the defense is just looking phenomenal. we have really beefed up that defensive line, and I think it's going to cause some major issues for opposing offensive lines.
Mhm.
Um, and we've been really strong at cornerback and safety for quite a few years now. And we
Yeah.
got a few linebackers of experience from top to bottom on the defense. There's experience. There's guys who have played with us, guys who played in big games. So they know what to expect. They know what to bring in.
Mhm.
Just over, like I'm tempering my expectations.
Yeah,
It's
like
what
we
I
all.
did,
Yeah.
like we all need to do, is sit there. But I do think that the floor for us should be no more than, let's see, especially after seeing Florida lose last night. I could losses coming, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama.
Mhm.
I shouldn't see any slip ups anywhere else. We
Yeah.
should be better. We should be better than Missouri. We're better than South Carolina. Those shouldn't be hiccups. We're better than Florida, better than Vanderbilt. We should not lose those games like we did last year.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
we'll hit on we'll do our full recap of the season or our projections for the season. That way everybody can follow along with us and get our overall. So what I want to ask you, you probably already hit on it, but just to clarify, who are the offensive guys or just that one guy that you're going to be watching tomorrow to see if he's really all about what the hype is? Like, is it going to be Devin Leary you're looking at? And then defensive side, same thing. Is there a particular guy you're going to be looking at tomorrow to be like, all right, that's going to be our stud on defense and that's going to be our stud on offense?
Definitely on offense, looking at Devin Leary just to see what he's made up coming out of camp.
Yeah.
Because I know what he's got on the outside to
Mm-hmm.
throw to, and I know he can throw to. I just want to see what he can accomplish with that. Defense, kind of I've heard a lot of positive things about JJ Weaver again coming into this year. I think he's going to be a really stud on that linebacker side.
Mm-hmm.
But who I want to see, who I've seen the most hype for in camp is Octavius Oxidine.
Is
Um,
that because of the name? Yes.
no, dude, he is a ginormous figure on that defensive line,
Yeah.
and like he was a force last year as a freshman. He's a sophomore now. They've had, at some points they've had to pull him off the field to get better reps in for the offense because he's that good at bulldozing in the offensive line. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of hype coming out with him, and I want to see him take over and whatnot tomorrow, and that's what I'm looking for. Devin Leary, Octavius Oxidine, see what they've got going on.
Yeah.
I guess back at you. What do you look at? You've got a lot of new people to look at. Who are you hoping to see vast improvement from, or
Yeah.
what you've got with your new guys?
Man, I wish it could be something like in the NBA finals where you can select a player that you want the camera to follow for this point of the quarter. Like first quarter, I want you to follow Steph Curry. Then third quarter, I want you to follow Klay Thompson. I wish I could do that now and just have 10 different screens so I can follow all these different new players like you mentioned. But I mean, same thing. I feel like offensively, I want to look and see, what our line's doing. I'm gonna just put a collective group as the one unit I'm watching. I was listening to a couple of the radio shows I like, and Jamon Brown, a Louisville alum, offensive lineman, and he said, the first three plays offensively, if your line's dominant, then that kind of gives you that feel like, oh, we're going to win this game. Because if your line's dominant, then you should win the game, whether it's pounding them with the run game or they're going to be so threatened by the run game that they'll bring their safeties and corners up that you should be able to hit some of these speed guys as Jamari Thrash or Kevin Coleman over top. And I think Jack Plummer will be able to deliver those balls. But, our offensive line has been suspect, to say the least, the last couple of years. But I think these transfers that we got in, one played with Jeff Brom up at Purdue, and then we got a couple guys in from Virginia, got a guy from Rutgers. So I think this offensive line is a collective group, which is being led by our center and Brian Hudson, who's been, ACC All-American or at least honorable mention. I want to watch and see how they dominate, kind of like Jamon Brown said, and just how are they dominating in those first three, or are they dominating those first three plays or first possession? So I'll be watching them for sure on offense because I feel like Jack Plummer has, he showcased what he can do previously, and if Jeff Brom is, the QB guru, I would say I'm gonna take his word that he's going to do what he has to do. These receivers, Jamari Thrash, 1,000-yard receiver. I really, it's all about this line giving us time, because if the receiver's running a great route, he can be as fast as possible. But if we can't block anybody, Jack Plummer's not going to be able to deliver a good ball. So I'm watching this offensive line as a collective group. Defensively, man, again, I wish I had 10 screens to just watch all these different players. But Jermaine Luelle, he was supposed to be a senior last year. He got injured right before the season started, I believe, during camp. So I'm going to watch him. He's going to be right there in the middle at D tackle. He's a big guy, 6'3", 310 pounds. And I just want to see how he performs. Again, it's kind of hard to come off with an injury, season-ending injury like he had. But I want to see how he performs. Kind of like how you mentioned when J.J. Weaver leading the linebacker group. But then you're also revamped that line at Kentucky. We have a revamped line here. And Stephen Herron, as I mentioned previously, him coming in, having that pride, having that leadership from Stanford years to now being that senior leader for Louisville. I mean, this is going to be a great defense. I know we lost Yaya Diaby, Yasir Abdullah. We lost Keitrell Clark, but we replenished that group of D-line and also got some corners in here. I mean, one of the best names in college football is Quack Quack Storm Duck from NC. And I think UNC, and I think he's going to be a great guy that we have out there, locking down some of these receivers that we're going against. Ultimately, I guess if I'll single out one guy who's been a standout as a freshman, which is crazy. He was getting, notoriety from all the national networks because of how well he was doing in spring ball and how highly Jeff Brom was talking about as Stanquan Clark. And he's a true freshman, and I think he's going to get some true time out there on the field. Because as you know, that linebacker position gets beat up a lot. You're rotating constantly to make sure you're getting the right coverages and right matchups. And I think he will be able to get some time out there. So when he does pop out there, he's going to be wearing number 6. So I'm going to be looking for number 6 and see how he does and make sure the moment's not getting too big for him, because as it seems, the moment's not too big for him. He's stepping up to the plate and he's performing. So those are the guys I'm going to be looking for. I know it's broad with, saying I want to watch everybody, but offensive line on offense, and then defensively watching that D tackle spot in Jermaine Luelle and Stephen Herron, and then of course Stanquan Clark at linebacker. So I got a lot of people I'm watching, man, and I'm excited to see these guys go out and ball tonight. And so that's guys that we're looking at, and now we can kind of go into these games. We can hit on all of them, or we can kind of just. What are the key games that you're going to look at like this year? Like, who do you have marked on your calendar? Like, can't wait till this game. I can't wait until we go out there and just show the world that we're going to beat. Boom. So who are those, like, I guess, 3 key games that you're ready for?
All right. So the 3 key games that I'm looking at right now, honestly, it's just the 3 big ones. It's Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. Georgia's got a new quarterback. Alabama's got a new quarterback. Tennessee's got a new quarterback. They're all new quarterbacks. We're the Georgia game specifically zeroing at number 1. Where are we at still with them? Because we always play them tough. We always keep them low scoring. Our defense does its jobs. We just haven't had an offense that can take over and provide the points to keep that game super close. Like, it's close. It's within like a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, or like 2 or 3 touchdowns. Most of the time, 14 to 21 points, but trying to get that down within set, see where we're at, especially them coming off back-to-back national titles.
Yeah,
that in and of itself, honestly see us as maybe 2nd in the East, but to do that, you got to measure yourself up against Tennessee. I think that's our closest competition to Georgia for 1st or 2nd in the East, and then Alabama, just because one, it's Alabama. It's the back end of the year. We'll just need to see where we're. It's one of those times where you're ranking yourself up against the game's best, and you got 3 opportunities, because right now they're all 3 teams are ranked 1, 12, and 4. So you've got 3 top 12 preseason opportunities for judging where your team is at. So those are my 3 games I'm hitting on. Because I honestly think every other game should be good to go. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about any other game.
Yeah. I like that little subliminal slap. I like it. I like it. I'd say, the three games, if I had to choose three just to kind of like are on my radar and like I'm excited for, because I did buy season tickets. This is my second time ever buying season tickets. And the first time I bought season tickets just so happened to be the worst year in U of L football history for at least the last 50 years. So knock on wood, this is not going to be that same thing. So the three games I'm, keying in on, I'm not going to say tonight because I mean it is the kickoff of the Brom era, so obviously that's a big game, but it's Georgia Tech, so I won't, say anything bad about them, but it's not something I'm like really worried about. So I say that first big game is going to be Notre Dame at home. And I'm so glad we have them at home, not only because I get to go watch it at home, but that's going to be a huge game for us. And if we play our cards right and we do everything we're supposed to do, take care of business, we should be going to that game 5-0. And it should be college game day, which we haven't had college game day here since Lamar Jackson destroyed Florida State. So I think that should be college game day. Notre Dame should take care of business too, I believe. So hopefully they hold their end of it, and I hope we hold our end of it. And that should be a big Saturday, October 7th here. And again, like I said, I get to be at that game. So I think that's going to be huge for us. Obviously at Miami, I know, getting to the end of this, but at Miami is going to be huge because Miami's always seen as, a top tier team, and they're going to be like, projected to do great in the beginning of the year until ultimately they don't do great. So right now, that's going to be my key game is at Miami because you're on the road in a hostile environment. It's going to be the Howard Schnellenberger Trophy for those. I believe it's boots are going to be given out for that one, which you should be in the Hall of Fame. All right. Just letting you guys know that are listening in. If you're one of those people that make choices on the Hall of Fame, Howard Schnellenberger should be in 6-0 in bowl games, help build Miami, help build Louisville. But I won't go into any more other than put them in there. Free the pipe. And then I know you didn't say it, but I'm going to say it. The Kentucky game is going to be the third game that, I'm tired of having, big brother, little brother, whatever, the monkey on our back. I just want to see a great game. And I think it's going to be huge because this is Brom's first time ever playing against Kentucky, whether when he was at Louisville or coaching, it's going to be his first time going against Kentucky. And the hatred's there already. He knows what he's going to do. And when the story came out that he was, preparing for Kentucky already in the summer, that's crazy. No, he wasn't. As I mentioned to you guys before in our group chat, like he was just like every coach does, he's going through his schemes and I'm sure he was just like, hey, when we go against this kind of front, like Kentucky, when they have these kind of D-line and these kind of players, I want you to do this. And I think everybody took it as he's overlooking all of his schedule just to get to Kentucky because they're that worried about it. It's like, no, he's not. He's just mentioning it, I'm sure. So I'm excited for those three games. Notre Dame, I do have that being a very, very close game. They put on a show against Navy last week in week 0, but I think that said more about Navy than it did Notre Dame. And who's on their sideline as their quarterback? A guy that we, embarrassed last year, and Sam Hartman. He's in a different offense, which that's good for him. I wish it was that same offense because I think our defensive coordinator knew how to play that, and we exactly shut him down in that third quarter. But I think we will, I think we'll right the ship there and keep it going. And again, I hate to be the guy that says my team's going 12-0 like everybody else and limit expectations, but the expectation is to go 12-0, and I think we can beat Notre Dame. But I'll give it to you. I have our first loss going to probably Miami, just because that's a hard road game. Actually, that's my second loss. My first loss was to NC State, but this is me being, optimistic that we'll beat them. I think NC State will be a hard game. They do have Brennan Armstrong, who transferred from Virginia, and he torched us last time we played against him, and I'm sure he is going to, be back on it by the time that game rolls around. But I think Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Miami, and Kentucky are my three key games there.
Yeah, I mean those are important games for you all because it kind of goes back to you're testing where you're at.
Yep.
Going into this year with all your new people and everything, like new guys coming in and everything like that, is you want to see how they perform against other superior talent. And I mean, luckily for you, I mean you've got a pretty easy of the road schedule
Yeah.
in terms of ACC wise. You
Mhm.
don't play Clemson, you don't play Florida State, you have Notre Dame at home. Um, and you should hopefully be able to take care of most of the rest of them. Not that there can't be hiccups every now and then, but
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Exactly.
it's one of those things.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Indiana game too, just because, as you know, my girlfriend Maddie, she's a big IU fan. Her whole family's an IU fan, and we'll be at that game. So that's going to be fun to go to. That Murray State game is a blackout game next week on Thursday. I will be at that game. That's going to be huge. It's Jeff Brom's first game at home. But I'm excited for this whole dang schedule. Just like I know you're excited, and everybody listening is excited for their respective team. And you know what? What else I'm excited for? I'm excited for having this
What?
back with you, man. I'm excited to get into season 2. This is again, like I said, episode 1, the return of T Stalls and Drizzy Drake. So I'm excited to keep this going. I hope you all listening in. If you're a returning listener, we appreciate you all listening in. And if you're new, hey, subscribe, follow us on all our social media. It's literally TNJ Sports Pod on almost every single thing you can think of to follow us on social media wise. But you know what, man? I'm excited. I'm glad we got to do this, and I'm just ready for football, man. I'm ready for that ball to be kicked and to see that first play. Hopefully, it's a touchdown like we saw last night with Utah versus Florida. But I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I mean it's football time, so let's do it. Glad to be back. We'll have these out, what, every week or so. We're gonna have one out
Yes, sir.
and be tracking preseason expectations. So quick rundown before we get gone from this one. What is your projected win-loss record for Louisville this year, um, pertaining to this schedule?
Yeah. So for this schedule, I will say, honestly, I feel like every team should think this, but especially Louisville, we could go 12-0. But a realistic one, I say 10-2. With the losses being most likely, at NC State or Notre Dame, and then at Miami. I think those road tests will be tough, but the floor is definitely 8-5. What about you with UK?
Definitely looking at I think the floor 9-3, 8-4. Because I could see us dropping all three of those ranked games and maybe having a hiccup that we shouldn't have somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
as in a Florida or South Carolina, Missouri, whatever. Um, but my overall, I think 10-2. I think we'll knock off either Tennessee or Alabama, one of the
Mm-hmm.
two. Probably more likely Tennessee.
Yeah.
So 10-2, which I think is great. Get back to 10-2, go to a really nice bowl game, get another bowl win.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the year 10, 11 wins. I think that overall is a positive going into next year and whatnot. So I 10-2
Mm.
ceiling, floor, let's say 8-4 at worst.
We'll go into it more later, I guess, in the year as the year goes on, obviously, and we see how these teams perform. But just how you feel now about this team and Stoops. What is the scale on the hot seat for him? Is this like if you guys go 5-7, or just doesn't look great at 6-6? Do you think he is on the hot seat? They're like, oh, he's gone.
No, I don't think he'll be on the hot seat. I think it'll be more vice versa, as in if he does so well this year that someone tries to poach him away.
Yeah.
Um, I think Mitch Barnhart I think he's shown great patience with Mark building the program to what he's built it at.
Mm-hmm.
I do not see him, he's one of the guys that he heard all the criticisms last year and he made the change. Offense was awful. He made the change. He brought back his guy that worked. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he reacts to situations that, he doesn't just like, oh, I'll give him one more year. No, he's like, you're gone. I want this guy back. Went and got him back. I don't think we'll see what we saw last year. And Levis got injured very early on last year and was not. He had no run game, and that's what made him deadly when you had to play both his legs and his arm. And you know that from Malik Cunningham when he getting banged up, it's harder, for the offense to move because he can't do what he normally does to cause all that havoc.
Exactly. And we didn't have a backup, just like you guys didn't have a backup. Which Brock, he did his job against Virginia last year, but again, it's just not the same. It's something that we do have now. This QB room is crazy, but I'm glad, again, like I said before, I'm glad we got to hop in and do this, start this up again. I'm very excited for the season, very excited for this season of T&J Sports Podcast. Again, follow us, subscribe to us. You can follow me on Twitter at very plain and simple, Tyrone Stallard. And then Drizzy, your handle?
JT Drake 23.
JT Drake 23. Give us a follow, like, subscribe, and again, you can find our Twitter under T&J Sports Pod. We appreciate you all listening. Follow us. Thank you, and look forward to having this conversation with 2 wins for my team and for Jordan's team next week as we hit on week 2 of college football. Thank you all, and have a good day. Go Cards.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Go Cats.